Welcome back to the Dynamic Mind podcast. On this episode, myself, Piper Harris, along with our director, Susan Belangee, invite you to join us for our annual reflection, a time to look back on the ups, the downs, and the many lessons we've gathered from 2024. This year has been a journey filled with challenges that tested our resilience and moments that reminded us of the strength in connection and clarity. Together, we'll talk about who's sitting at our table, those who support, challenge, and inspire us, and how you consider who's at your table for the life you truly want to live. We'll share insights on building intentional relationships, setting boundaries, and creating the kind of environment that fosters growth, whether in your personal life, professional world, or both. So pull up a chair and join us for this episode of Dynamic Mind Podcast. It's time to reflect, refocus, and step into the new year with purpose. Everybody, welcome to Susan and I's second annual Christmas podcast. Whoever, if you're watching, listening, welcome. We're very excited to be here. So we just wanted to jump right in. Okay. So we were talking about Thanksgiving, and we were talking about a blog that I'd written about who's sitting at your table. And we thought, what a great analogy to kind of kick off or reflect on this year, and then what we're going to do. About next year. So this is our question. Have you ever thought about who is at your table, not just in life, but in your growth and your challenges and in your dreams? And so that's what we want to tackle today for our annual blogcast, whatever you want to call it. So we're hoping that we can be pretty vulnerable with you today. We've got our Kleenex available. And so just would really love for you guys to, join in with us and send us questions, comments. We would love to hear from you. So why don't you kick things off? Talk a little bit about what we're going into.
Oh, okay. So in reading your blog post, certainly it brings to mind, loved ones that have passed away. And I know your kind of focus was on grief, because many of your clients seem to be really dealing with that this year.
Yep.
And so that kind of, brought to mind, for me, who was at my table, who's no longer at my table, who would I want at my table. And so I think, kind of thinking about, guests that I would love to have. And I think, going back in history, right?
Yeah.
Like if we could start there and think, who would you want to have at your table, that maybe some historical figure, somebody you never even, would think about. And so for me, of course, I'm like Adler. Adler's got to be at my table.
Always Adler.
So I would definitely want Adler to be at my table and just, have that opportunity to just ask those questions. Like, how did you come up with this thing? Why does this make so much sense? And how did that come to you? So I would just love to ask those kinds of questions. What about you? Is there anybody?
It's funny, when I was thinking about that, I actually thought about Freud, just simply because he's the grandfather of psychology. And the other thing I think too, right, but I know this is the whole Adler thing, but actually what I think is fascinating about him is he's taken a lot of heat over the years, right? Because everything's about sex with your mom, sex with your dad, all the weird stuff. Why Adler was like, woo, too much, buddy. We're not going there. But I mean, I just think it would be fascinating to have that mind at the table and go, where did that obsession come from?
One answer: opium.
Drugs. But so when I was thinking about like psychological minds, like past minds, I think that would just be fascinating to just sit in his presence. If I was to think about a current psychological mind I love is Jordan Peterson. I love how his mind works. Sometimes I can't follow it, but I find it fascinating. So I think just to have those fascinating conversations and dig into why we love what we do with working with people, you and consulting me and counseling. It's like these are those thought makers and that have pushed us forward in what we do. So
as many times as you quote Marcus Aurelius.
Yes. Oh, he's definitely at my table.
Which is many of Adler's thoughts, at least, there's some thought going all the way back to some of those early writings that Adler himself wrote and others who have, translated his writings. That seems to be a character, philosopher back from that time that Adler certainly, must have read or must have heard of. So it's just so funny whenever you share one of those on your
the
on your
Stoics
Instagram.
are so fascinating. And what I love about it, why I love Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, or if we put Socrates or anybody on,
Epictetus, yep.
yes, is that their whole focus is that we do not have to be at the we don't have to be a victim of our feelings, of our thoughts,
or
like
our circumstances.
Our circumstance. Like it gives us power, it gives us strength, and we might not be able to control everything. It, life happens. We can't control certain things, but how we react, how we choose to live moving forward. I think that's what I love so much about Stoicism, and why and it's rooted in CBT. Stoicism, CBT are like this because it's about our thoughts. Let's control the thoughts, then we control which path we take.
Yeah, and I think that's again why CBT and Adlerian are certainly related to each other. So that's, as I think about some of those historical minds, those are the folks that come to mind for me. As I think about other mentors, so if we moved kind of the sense of loss or kind of addressing that, like I would definitely want Richard Watts. He's one of those big guys in the field of Adlerian psychology. He also kind of transcended the whole counseling field over the last 20, 30 years. But the thing that I would want is not necessarily the academic Richard Watts, who was phenomenal. Just the way that he could write, and just prolific writer, prolific reader, probably one of the most well-read Adlerians I think I've ever encountered. But I'd want the personal friend Richard, who you knew existed this amazing academic side. And then this is the same guy. I would want the Richard who would tell the fart jokes.
Yes. Fart jokes are the best.
I would want the Richard who, probably one of my favorite memories, Adlerians, right? We talk about early memories all the time. This isn't so early, but for one of the meetings that we had with the board of directors for NASAP, and we were up until 11 or 12, just goofing around, chatting, talking about this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden he finds this app on his phone that's just fart noises. And so laughing until you hurt, like your sides hurt. Like that's the stuff that comes to mind when I think about Richard.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I remember thinking of fart jokes. I remember
lovely topic.
I mean, hey, listen, this is real. We're real people, and this is what we do. Maybe I won't tell that story.
Oh, come on.
It was no. I mean, I was remembering in high school, if we're thinking about that, people that have been at our table, present, past, future, all of that. I had a dear friend, Stacy. Hey, Stace, love you. That I grew up with her family, and we went to the store, and her mom was kind of a stoic. Like she didn't show a lot, and I found a fart doll, and I chased her through the store, farting noises, and I just remember her mom howling and looking at me like, "Stop it, Piper, stop it!" But she couldn't help but crack up, and I'm like, farting is the universal humor. I mean, it just is. So we digress. It's good for us to laugh. Psychologically, we're supposed to laugh. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, if you think about the grief, like talking about that, that was one of the things that she and I were talking about with this podcast, reflecting on our table, who sat at our table, and like some of the loved ones. Obviously, Susan's one of them at my table.
Likewise,
we're traversing this thing together. Family, of course, my husband, my sons. But if you follow me, I had Zebedee, the therapy pup. He came into our lives. Oh gosh, when did we got him in March, I believe. And so Zeb was a golden retriever, and the whole plan was to get him trained. I did my training for certification and start putting him through to be a therapy dog. And unfortunately, we lost him this year. So hey, FYI, if you have black bark in your yard, take it out right away. Just kind of a little caveat, black bark is oftentimes dyed with cocoa bark, which is highly toxic, but smells yummy to dogs. And so ultimately he died. We had to put him down this year due to all of this stuff. And that was the grief that it's so hard. We were talking about, people need to understand that we're going to be juggling a lot of different things in a year. So we get it. When you come to her and your business is a mess and you're trying to figure out communication patterns, or you're coming in here to me and you've got trauma that you're trying to work through, but then life is also still happening. And so we have to learn how to
handle it all,
manage
it, balance it.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the day that Zebedee, the vet called and said he's septic, I literally got the call as the client is walking in, and I had to, okay, I had to juggle, I had to balance, and it was very difficult. It was very, very difficult. But all of us do it. Just because we're in this profession, we're not immune, right, to the grief that hits us too.
Right, and I think it's important. Certainly, we both strive to be real, to be, authentic.
Yeah.
Versus, put on airs, as they say, or try to present a different picture.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important. I think, clients really resonate with that. They appreciate that sense of, I know who Piper is because she's going to give it to me real. She's going to give it to me straight.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for me with my clients. Like, even if, and identifying, kind of what somebody's pain points are, I'm not going to sugarcoat it because that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
So presenting is like, well, here's the situation. How are we going to address it? What's going to be the movement out of the situation?
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we do. We both want to be that way with our clients, that they know this is who we are. Fart jokes and all.
So let me claim too, since you claim family, certainly, my husband, my two girls, this has been a year of adjustment for me with my oldest going off to college. She's done phenomenally well. She'll be home tomorrow from her first semester. And she's living her best life. And that's so amazing to see. But, certainly a year of transition.
And it's grief.
Mm-hmm.
You had to mourn. She would text me and say, Piper, she's leaving again. Will you please pray? The mama worries, and so,
yeah,
I traverse that.
I will give a shout out to Life 360. We still kind of watch her as she drives to and from her school, because it's about 6 hours away. So
that's a long haul.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long haul.
It is, but she's done so well, and just so proud of the young woman she's becoming. And my sophomore in high school equally is venturing off into new territories, looking at drama and things like that in her school. So
it's fun. Yeah, watching our lives grow together here in the practice, but then of course life doesn't start or stop, so we're watching our kiddos grow and change. Mine's going off to college next year, and all the things, big breakups, all of the stuff that you guys are balancing a lot too. So it's just kind of interesting when you think about who was at our table this year. Another thing that we talked about with this blog, we've got people at the table, the chairs represent the people. Then we've got the place settings and the utensils. The place settings are really roles and responsibilities. And so maybe we talk about those roles, and we've kind of talked about, the balancing, the juggling, the roles and responsibilities, but that's what those place settings are. So what would you think are maybe the new hats that you've put on that you've experienced, and kind of speak to that?
Yeah. So, I think for me, one of the other things that I do professionally also is I'm executive director for the North American Society of Adlerian Psychology, NASAP for short. And so figuring out how to manage my time, growing this business, growing dynamic growth counseling and consulting services, and also making sure that NASAP continues to do well and prosper and thrive and grow, at least in the role that I bring to the table. So I think for me, it's just, figuring out, something as basic as, which days am I going to work on which things, and making sure that I'm devoting, enough time, to each thing. So that's been, the hat that I think, since last year, has changed and morphed, and, trying to figure out again, what's going to make the most sense, what's going to help me grow my business. And I think, with that, learning new skills too. So, venturing into from another mentor of mine, a current mentor, venturing into speaking engagements and those kinds of things as a way to get me in front of other groups of people. And so that's something else that I'm trying to figure out is what does it look like if I have a speaker hat on versus a director hat versus a consultant hat, and so on.
Yeah. And I think maybe if you're new to this, so you understand our dynamic, we are different in our roles and responsibilities when it comes to a stereotypical practice. So what's wonderful about what we do is we've broken the mold, which we'll talk about that. But what we have is she's the consulting arm and I'm the counseling arm. So we both are building out those arms while bringing them together, if that makes sense. And so that's why dynamic growth counseling and consulting, Untangled Mind, is the dynamic mind approach, so that we are addressing concerns, not just in the individual, couples, whatever, mental health wise, but we really want to affect change for professionals. We don't want to leave them out of the mix. And so that's what we're talking about. We have so many different hats. And then on top of it, running a small business is
daunting.
Oh my gosh.
Daunting. Exciting and wonderful. But it's a whole new set of skills. It's a whole new set of plates. It's a whole new.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Susan, I need to talk to you about this counseling concern. And then, hey, Susan, should we do a flyer? Should we do like an advertise? I mean, like we're constantly, take this hat, put that down. This hat, put it. I mean, and that's kind of our conversations is ting, 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 ting. I mean, because it's the two of us developing a
sense of community.
And it's so diverse.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what drives both of us is wanting to be of help to as many people as we possibly can. And certainly, from my business, getting into businesses and doing more consulting, to me, I get to interact with more people than just, one at a time, which, the counseling side of it was great for me. But, for me, this is like the next generation.
Yeah.
How can I get the word out there about belonging and why it's so crucial and what happens when we don't feel it. And then I think for you kind of doing it one at a time. So I think there's, again, ways that we strive to create this community, at least, in this East Cobb area, and spreading the good news about, hey, there's good help. Hey, there's, ways to continue to learn and deepen insight into yourself so you can be more productive. Yeah.
And I think what's great about why we're so unique is because a lot of people aren't ready for therapy. We know that. We get it. And so what's great, though, is that then she can bring her wisdom into executives' offices, into school districts, into, large networking groups. I mean, that is really what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
What is the way that we can affect the greatest change? We know it's not one-on-one in here. Not everybody wants to do that.
Right.
And not everybody wants to go to giant networking groups like me. They make me very nervous. I'll do them, but they're not my favorite. So, it's definitely, what we're moving toward. But it's been difficult. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. So anything we want to touch on in terms of the
professional growth guests? Yeah. So when we think about professional growth guests, like who's at our table, we talked about the roles and responsibilities, more on the table guests. I think for me, some people that have taken a seat at my table a lot this year, I do trauma, anxiety, grief, and I love CBT. But then I want to teach people more about the brain and body. And I love what I learn. And so I invested in professional growth with Dr. Sweeten. And I just finished my neuropsychotherapy certification with her. Yeah, it's so cool. Except some of y'all think of some of the stuff I'm doing is weird, but that's okay. I had a guy lay on the floor last week. But I mean, that is one of the professional guests that I've brought to the table. I want to invest in that because I don't want to be a one-trick pony. I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And how am I supposed to affect change in your life and in your mind if I can't help you regulate your body and your brain? Like I have to have that. So that's been a big one. And then Dr. Rogers, she laughs. So Dr. Rogers, I adopted him. I met him at Liberty University and I basically was like, you're mine. I'm never letting go of you. And he's tough. I had him for psychopathology and I would come to her. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's terrible. He's so mean to me. And then I would learn so much. But so a couple times this year, I get anxious. Funny. I get very anxious and then I start the shotgun effect. And so I come to her and she's calming. She's my calming force. And like, well, let's talk this through. What do you think of this? I go to Dr. Rogers. He's like, knock that crap out, Piper. Like, you've got 12 minutes to figure this out. So he's a toughie on me. I mean, he'll tell me, he's like, you're just acting anxious. Stop it. I mean, so I just love the balance that I get between Susan and then Dr. Rogers. I'm I'm so grateful for him and the relationship that we're going, because he kicks me in the butt when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so this just popped into my head. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna share it first and then come back to my other thought. So I would certainly put you in a different seat at the table too, because I'm a product of my generation, and Instagram and these kinds of things doesn't, I know you hate it, but it doesn't come easy for me at all. Yeah. And so I'm like, what's the difference between a reel and a story? And shoot, like I meant to include the link and I must have chosen the wrong thing. And so Piper comes along and says, you need to do it this way, or you need to here, I added it for you.
Yeah. Let me just go in and do that for you.
So I certainly appreciate that, and kind of having the, looking at things from the more you have stuff going out there, the bigger presence that you start to get. And so that's been super helpful. The other person kind of in this role for me is Kevin, Kevin O'Connor, who is an executive coach and an amazing speaker and human being in his own right. He's up in the Chicago area. But I was fortunate enough to bid on and win a series of consultations for the next year. And so I was kind of nudged in this direction by another friend, and said, you really should, buy this or, bid on this. And so I bid on it and I won it. And it's been just a wonderful.
It's been awesome to see how much you've changed. Like your growth with him has been huge. So thanks, Kevin. It's been awesome seeing her.
Yeah. So I would definitely put Kevin at the table, and certainly moving myself in the direction of what do I have to give, what blessings can I bring, from a speaking standpoint. Yeah. So
when I think about like people at our table, and I want you all to think about that, thinking about your Thanksgiving table, your Christmas table. I know this time of year can be very difficult for some.
Yeah.
But when we reflect on those people that are sitting at our table, it really does allow for growth and introspection, as you're talking about like Kevin and what he's brought, and like Dr. Rogers for me. I think about past people that are sitting at my table, but I didn't even think about it until just now.
Oh.
And so I was thinking about like my big sister, Krista. She passed away years ago, but just thinking about, she's been at my table the whole time, because she was that first kind of taste of supporting me through like you have. Like I've known Susan for a long time. She's always supported what I've done. But Krista was like that first one, because I met her. She's my camp counselor.
Oh my gosh.
In grade school or middle school, I guess it was. So, but she was that first one that really started molding that. So she's always been at that chair's empty. She's no longer with us, but it's not empty because she's always with me.
Yeah. And that's Roy Kern for me.
Yeah.
That person who basically started me on this whole path of Adlerian psychology, because prior to going to Georgia State, I had no idea, except for the paragraph in my intro psych textbook.
Yeah. Never a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was totally, from my view, a God moment, to end up at Georgia State and to be put on the Journal of Individual Psychology, learning about Adlerian psychology from the get-go. So Roy passed away a couple of years ago, and so he'll always have a seat.
Yeah. And what's really neat too, let's talk about new seats, is that I'm mentoring a gal from Liberty University. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I signed up for that. And she came and met with us last week. And it's so neat because she wants to learn all Adlerian, and you should have seen this one. She was like, I will tell you anything. Don't believe the textbooks, but Felicia, she's starting to be with us, and we're going to both mentor her. And it's just so fun. This is like a second career for her. She's stepping into mental health counseling, and it's just so cool because we brought her in, we had lunch, and she hung out, and like, this was, I'm set in my ways. She's been telling me for years I'm Adlerian. I'm like, okay, Susan, I know. But Felicia was like, yes. And it was so awesome to see. I mean, she just was like, whatever you need, I'm right there. And
let me tell you all about it in 10 minutes.
And we were like scouring the bookshelf. What book can we start her with? No, this is not good enough. And I'm like, that's the one you started me on. It's not good enough for her. I'm like, okay. I mean, it was pretty funny. So it's neat too, thinking about when you think about your table, the people that have impacted you, maybe they're not at the table anymore. Maybe you are grieving this season. It's your first time without someone at that table. But what are they leaving with? And then, even though they're not at the table anymore, that that loss, if we can navigate it, can invite in new, like this mentor.
Yeah.
And that's being open to the grief. I hate to say that. Like I miss Debbie. I would never think that a dog, I love dogs, y'all, but he's wrecked our family. I mean, it's been difficult. The loss of him, because he came to 3 sessions too. I even had clients that didn't know him and cried. I'm like, what the heck? This is my dog. Why are you crying? But it's opened my heart up to going, okay, that grief has left something and I want to invite something else in. So like with this gal that I'm mentoring, I've been blessed to have her mentoring me all these years. I had Krista when I was a little girl. Krista's not here. I want to do more. And so that's, if we can look at those empty chairs as a real opportunity to maybe not fill the chair, but fill someone else's empty chair.
Right. So as you were filled and blessed, now it's our turn to kind of fill somebody else with all of that goodness that we got from that person.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
So important.
Yeah.
So socially interested.
There we go. Adlerian. I love it. So we talked about this conversation, and in light of being very authentic and vulnerable with the year that she and I have had, we thought we'd talk about the unwelcome guests at our table. And we know you all have them. Maybe it's, your crazy Uncle Bob, or maybe it's the trauma of a family member. Maybe you've lost a job and this is that unwelcome guest at your table. Maybe it's frankly an addiction. Maybe it's a habit that you're not breaking.
Yeah.
We all have unwelcome guests at our table, and some of them are a lot more real than we would like to look at. And so Susan and I had a very large unwelcome guest at our table, and we wanted to share it with everybody because we've gotten through it.
Yes.
So when did all of that start? When was the first? April we started getting weird stuff? March, something like that?
Yeah.
So April or March, we started seeing some odd activity on our websites and getting odd emails. And then about a month later, we got a notice from the state of Georgia that someone had filed allegations against us. And what was the original allegation? Because they changed it. It was
the original allegation was that you were running a private practice by yourself.
That was what it was. And we were shocked. It's now granted, we're doing things differently than most people do it. She sees me as a peer. She's still the director of our business. But we're peers. We want to grow together. That's the whole point.
Yeah. It's a this relationship versus a this relationship, which is very Adlerian. Adlerians believe in egalitarianism, and that you don't need to have a one-up, one-down relationship for people to grow or for there to be an understanding about roles.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, just for us, we did it all right. We had an attorney build this, like, please read this. We know this is out of the box.
Right.
Like, we really want to do this the right way. So all that to be said, we were called to the state. And because of the allegations, we had an idea of where these were coming from. We're like, we've done it all right. So we hired an attorney. That's not cheap, especially for us, for the two of us. And so we went through months of hell we haven't done anything. Finally, we went to a board meeting with our attorney, with the whole state board, with the state's attorney. And we were put under the microscope for we don't know what. And ultimately what happened is they were false allegations. We changed a few things, wording on websites. I mean, that's truly what it was. And they said, well, you can't have her as a director and as clinical supervision. Okay. So we got a new clinical supervisor. But that's really what it was. But it was talk about balancing.
Yeah. Well, when your character is called into question, or your years of experience are called into question with no other data shared or explanation, besides, looking at, basically just
websites.
1 or 2 pages on your website. that was really hurtful. That was, again, I'll go under the microscope because I have nothing to hide, but to receive back, kind of what needed to be fixed. And it was that minor stuff. It was
20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was thousands and thousands of dollars for us to say we did this right.
Yeah. So, again, so we complied with what the state board asked for. And so, here we are moving forward, but figuring out, I think the learning that came from me, also kind of, that was the, what's the phrase? The icing on the cake, I guess, following a year of betrayals for me. The last year has felt like numerous betrayals. And some of it, somewhat related to the situation. And so for me, it was, okay, well, I know who I am, and I know we've done nothing wrong. So I have nothing to hide. I don't need to be afraid. I'm angry, but, and I'm okay to work my way through those feelings. I'm hurt, but I'm not going to hide those or stuff those down. That, that's the grieving process. That's when you realize, like, somebody that you thought was a good friend, has something happen either, for themselves or, is stuck in a trauma, and is operating from a trauma space. And so you try to find the ways of having compassion. Like, I can understand why somebody might feel that way. And this is not okay. To treat friends that way is not okay. But, so for me, I think the moving forward is recognizing, like, I can't make somebody deal with their trauma.
No.
So until that's done, I got to keep my space.
Yeah. And that's perfect the way you said that. And I think if you're listening or watching, you can't make someone be different.
Right.
You can't. And it can be deeply painful to still manage that space with those individuals. It's deeply painful because you're like, why are you, this isn't like, me. And so, or you just so desperately want the person to please change. I love you. Please change.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Right.
And so we understand that. And we wanted to be upfront about this year of betrayals, of the pain that we've gone through. It really sucked. I was like, whew, get out of here, 2024. We're ready. We're ready to move forward. Yeah.
And certainly there's good learning. There's good moments of self-reflection.
Yeah.
But certainly
it made us stronger. It definitely lit a fire under us. Nothing like putting a bullseye on your back to make you fight harder.
Right.
So I guess there's a positive in that too. But when you think about the people at your table, even past Christmas time, you are going to have unwelcome guests. So I guess what would you say is the best advice for someone that has unwelcome guests?
So my mind goes basic first, breathe. Just breathe. Recognize that you're going to have to interact with this person. Ask yourself, do I have to interact? If the answer is yes, then you got to do more self-care. You got to spend more time boosting yourself up so that you have a reservoir to draw on when you're in those moments of interaction.
Yeah. And it's okay to run the gambit of emotion. You're going to have the anger, like Kubler-Ross, you're going to go through all of it. You're going to have the anger, you're going to have the grief, you're going to have the disbelief, you're going to have all of those things. But what I would say in that is, again, you can't change how they're behaving.
You can only do you.
You can only do you. And that's, you have to have that really strong sense, that intrinsic worth to know, like, this doesn't matter, but it's still, you're going to still have to traverse that pain.
Yeah.
But
if you avoid it, it's not going to get any better.
Avoidance gets us nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. And think about that. It could be like an unjust claim that she and I went through this year, or betrayals from people that we really love. Or it could be, again, that thing that you're not looking at. That's an unwelcome guest.
Right.
That's stopping you from reaching those business goals. That's stopping you from achieving healthy relationships in your life. That's an unwelcome guest. You can feel the emotions, but if that's all you do, you're going to stay there. You're going to stay there. You have to choose. Hurt. Yeah. You have to choose. I want different, and do the hard work to do different. you know, and keep fighting through it. So yeah, I think one of the other things for myself that I learned this year that was really hard, and I would call her like, I don't know what to do. I think as therapist, especially, and she had so many years, and that's why she's great. She helps me through, am I good enough? Is this right? I have had to release clients. And a lot of times in our field, we hear you're not supposed to do that. You just take care of everyone. But I would come to her and say, but I'm being abused. Like and I'm not using this word flippantly. Like,
right.
I'm worried for my safety. I don't, like, what am I supposed to do? And so I think part of the unwelcome guest too at the table was not only clients that just weren't ready to do this work, but the unwelcome guest of imposter syndrome, of saying, well, you're really not good enough, Piper. You're not really a good therapist if you don't put up with X, Y, and Z.
Right.
It was hard for me this year to face that.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the reality of, you know, people's circumstances is, you know, for many people that are quote unquote the hardest to work with in the mental health field, it all comes from a place of trauma.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even in knowing that, it's also okay to say, you know, I have certain expectations, I have certain boundaries, and when clients continue to violate them, you know, or it leaves you feeling unsafe, you know, then that's not okay either. And if it's one of those situations that you can't address in a therapeutic way because that person is just not in the space to be able to do that, then you got to take care of you. And so, you know, that can leave you feeling, you know, like I'm not good enough, I can't handle this. And it's just the dynamics that exist, you know, for that person. And until they are ready to, you know, to really address it, you know, it can leave the therapist thinking I'm not good enough, or I must be doing something wrong. And so, you know, again, it's always a good space to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, is this me?
Yeah.
And if it is, then you know you've got work to do. If it's not, then it's okay. Well, what is it in this dynamic?
Yeah.
And where is my client, and what's really in the best interest of my client?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's really hard when what's in the best interest of your client is referring out.
Yeah.
Because you know that whatever is going on is not going to be helpful or therapeutic.
Yeah. It's hard to face that though.
It is.
It's hard to, I mean, I'm sure in this year for your work too, it's like, did I make the right choice from retiring? Like you stepping into this has been huge.
Yeah.
And fighting this constant, am I good enough? Am I strong enough? Am I worthy? Am I smart enough? Oh,
yeah. And so that's why we need our communities around us to lean on, to, you know, to trust with the constructive feedback, to, you know, to kind of recognize that, you know, we're never going to be our best selves when we try to do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
That we have to do it in connection with each other. And that's why I'm so grateful for, you know, for our partnership, the way that we work together, what we're building. And so, yeah, I'm just excited for
I am too.
2025.
Yeah. So on to 2025.
That was a good segue, right?
That was a perfect segue. I was getting a little heavy there. I was starting to think about all the bad stories. I'm like, nobody wants to listen to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, going into 2025, so thinking about transition from, you know, who are the people at your table? What are your roles and responsibilities? What are the hats you're wearing? What tools are you using to get there? And then what's the table going to look like in 2025? And this is that visualization is so key.
I love it.
She's great at visualization. But who do we want to invite to our table in 2025? What are those goals, those aspirations? So you start.
Let me start. I want to invite more businesses, you know, to my table to, you know, partake in the good things that I have to offer, and I know I can bring. I want. I already have a speaking engagement set for the beginning of January with the Optimist Club in Canton. So I'm excited to work with other Optimist clubs because the more I've investigated it, the more Adlerian the Optimist Club is. So that would be exciting to have more.
That's fun.
More speaking, you know, opportunities. Getting to know more people in that arena would be fabulous for me. So yeah, that's kind of what comes to mind first.
Yeah. I think for me, for this, for this upcoming year is I've noticed a shift in my work, and it's going more and more and more just to trauma. I mean, it's really kind of going into that space, but especially men. I really didn't know I would enjoy. Sorry, guys, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I really enjoy working with you, and it's such a challenge because obviously I'm a woman, and I have to ask them. You need to teach me what it is to walk in your shoes, And so for 2025, I would invite in more of the men that have endured such trauma, and they hide because they're like, we can't, because societally says push it down, you got to be tough, you can't cry, you can't especially go tell a woman,
right?
And so I think some of those new guests that I want at the table in 2025 is men to courageously step into this work. It's pretty cool, and it's a challenge. And I love it. And guys, that I tell them all the time, woo, you're challenging me today, and they're so kind too. And it's like, because I talk like this, and then they sit there and go, am I allowed to say anything to you? I'm like, absolutely, you're safe. So I think that would be some of my guests, that one part of it that I bring in. How about you?
No other guests, but as I think about other opportunities I hope will come. So another facet of my business is doing training. And so knowing that over the years, being involved in NASAP, many people have come up to me and said, I want to learn how you use the Basis A with clients. I want to learn more about that. When are you going to launch a training program? So that did launch this year. I had the first class in November. I have another one scheduled for February. And so I would love to have more opportunities to go, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but there are people kind of overseas who over the years have asked me. And so I would love to travel, and I would love to bring the Basis A training to groups around the world. So I'm hoping that shows up at my table this year.
Yeah, because she's already doing it. So it's right. I mean, 2025 is going to be humongous for her. Humongous. It's
fingers crossed.
We're really excited about 2025.
Yep.
I would think some of the other interesting guests that I would invite into 2025 is more faithful connections. Susan and I are very open about our faith and our love of Christ. And so this is really, it's who we are. And obviously it's only with the clients that's what they want integrated into their work.
Right.
We never force it. But I would love for people to know that this is a safe space, to work those things out, because there's a lot of pain that is associated with religion. And so
been through it myself.
Yes, I think a lot of us have. And so I would love to have more of that. Some of the clients that have found me recently, boy, it's been fun to be able to step in and do that kind of stuff together. So I'd say that. And I would say too, again, the continued collaborative opportunities for she and I. We talked about the mentee and just really giving back to the community, getting out, doing speaking engagements, whatever we can do to. And I think too, as I'm talking about it, what I would really love part of our 2025 is that people in this field specifically, just because it's different doesn't mean you can't do what we're doing, right? We don't have to have this, hierarchical
dynamic.
And you can make it work. And I think that would give so much hope to so many people in this field, because it is, I mean, when they tell this is how it's always done, so it doesn't, nothing illegal, but for people to see how this dynamic works, I think would be really cool to have maybe some more conversations with people about this is how you can build this out. It doesn't have to be either or, it can be yes.
Right. And I think what you and I have talked about, and I would love to see this show up at our tables this year, with all of the training and experience and knowledge and wisdom you have, right, about polyvagal understanding, right, and how that can really impact somebody's ability to do better self-care. That's the kind of stuff that I think businesses could benefit from, to even just have a quiet space, set aside in an office where somebody could go and take that time to breathe, to hum, to sing, to, whatever it is that's going to be of benefit to them, and do it, kind of have the business say, we want you to be your best self when you're here. And so if you need across the day time to devote to that, we want to make that possible for you versus always relegating it to your off time, right? And so if somebody could catch themselves kind of through your understanding of this is how we start to notice when we're starting to creep up and our anxiety or whatever is starting to creep up, and then be like, okay, time out. I need to go and take care of myself for 5 minutes and I'll be right back. And then that person, the rest of the day is probably going to be much more functional than if they try to stuff it down, ignore it, and try to keep on with their day. By the time, I mean, they're going to be no good.
And guys, I want to be clear. This is not, kumbaya stuff.
No, it's not.
This is rooted in science. That's what we're talking about when it comes to this brain body that I'm really integrating into practice, and that businesses can integrate as well. This is not kumbaya. You see them in all funny movies. This is not a cry room. This is not any of that stuff. This is not let's curl up in a blanket, although I have my weighted blanket for some of my clients. But no, this is rooted in science. This is not hooey kumbaya stuff. This is real stuff that organizations absolutely need, just as much as my clients need. We use it. I mean, like when we get dysregulated, I'm like, "Whoop, Piper, you better start your tapping before you're offline." So
Yeah, and I think that's, when companies, hear from people like us and, like, oh, you're going to just be another one of those, like, warm, fuzzy things. Like, no, we've got science to back up what we do. And so, it might feel warm and fuzzy when you're done because you know a lot more about yourself and you know how to take care of yourself better. But that's never going to be what you're left with. It's always going to be very focused and tailored to the things that you're struggling with or your business is struggling with, those pain points. Like, we can certainly address them and help boost employee morale, engagement, fix your attrition problem, all of those things.
And I think too, just thinking about R20, and this is the fun part, right? And this is what should be fun for you too. Whether you're preparing for your 2025 as an organization or an executive or clients, is you really have to, it's not about dreaming these crazy audacious dreams, but there needs to be some sort of spirit of hope that's in it. And like us talking about this gets me, I'm excited. Like, okay, let's go 2025. Let's go. Like, we can affect change. Maybe it won't happen, in this huge way, and that's okay. A little bit of change is you need that hope driver. And I think that's what I'm feeling. Like, I'm getting like buzzy excited. I'm getting excited for it. So I think, just the future for Dynamic Mind, Dynamic Growth, and Untangled Mind. We're excited for 2025. We know who's been at our table, who will remain at our table. We are hopeful for those coming to the table, and we know the ones that we're not allowing at the table anymore. And that feels good. So, well, with that, we're just kind of sharing a little bit, and then just real quick, some future things that we're working on. We talked about your training. We're talking about all her speaking engagements. So we really want this consulting side of things to really take off. I think this year.
We're on the cusp of something. So, I'm very grateful for opportunities that seem to be appearing. So
very grateful. And I think too, as you will all go to our sites, you'll see that we're really focused on data-driven, data-informed practices. We're both of us like this we can prove what we're doing. And so that's something that we're really going to focus on and fine tune in 2025. I think too, if you read my blog, I've been doing the Catching Flack series, and I have been really working with Susan, like saying, this is what I want this to look like counseling wise, eradicating some of these old ways that therapy's always been done and stop it. And that's why the data informed practices, the science-based practices, psychology is subjective in and of itself. We know that, but there's actual proof. And that's what we're trying to do. We're standing out in 2025. Like, no, here it is.
Using the things that we know because the data shows. Right. Versus just picking things off of the shelf because, we went to a training on it or something like that. So really investing in, and I think that's something I will always commend you on. You invest so much of your off time in reading and pursuing these new certifications and so on. So, I think I think it's one of those things that really stands us apart, is that we stand on science. It's not just fluff. It's not just, the psychology of things that matters, but we're rooted in,
and we'll take care of you. We're very compassionate. Right. She's probably more compassionate than her, but we're very compassionate, but we're like, hey, you're coming to us with a problem. Let's fix it.
And we'll show you at the end, like how you started at point A and here you are at point Z and what's different.
Yeah. And these are the tools that you used and you can continue to move through. So yeah, just a lot of really exciting stuff coming ahead. This year's podcast, whatever you want to call it, is a little bit different. Last year, if you remember, we talked about the basis A. So make sure you go back and watch that. I was the guinea pig. And so ding is telling us our lunch appointment's coming. We're very excited for our Christmas lunch too. But go back and watch that, because you'll learn more on an individual level what the basis A is. And so clients and individuals, you can have that. That's a great opportunity.
Yep.
But learn more about that and following us with our blogs we like to write, and hopefully we have a robust season for you all.
Yes. And we certainly, wish all of you watching, current clients, future clients, we certainly hope that, you're able to think about some of these things. So take time and think about who's at your table. Who do you want there? What steps do you need to take? What roles maybe can we play in helping you, take those steps? And so that way your table at the end of the year next year looks different than it does perhaps today.
And here's the thing too, that hope factor. What seat at the table is that hope? What does it look like? What does it taste like? Visualize it. What do you really want to impact? And listen, I want to change the world of therapy. But you don't need that giant of a dream. The hope might be, I make my bed this week. The hope might be, that I don't scream at my kids. The hope is different for everyone, but that seat at the table, you have to find that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. So do we want to move on to kind of
I think we have our notes.
Okay. So take time to think about, what seat would you want in your future dreams? And I'm going to throw in even another visualization. So the closer you can put your dreams and those hopes, I think the easier it feels to then start to embark on them. Right. So if you imagine a table of chairs and your hope is on the total opposite end of the table from you, that might feel a little more daunting. So what do we need to do to make it the seat right next to you?
Yeah.
And then it's easier to kind of tap into and do a little bit at a time, which then generates even more hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So spend time. I mean, if you're an artsy person and actually different parts of your brain is hit, if you draw this out, draw your table. Who's at the table? Who do you not want at the table? What's the place setting? Those place settings are roles and responsibilities.
And tools.
The utensils are your tools. And if you don't have them, how do I find the person that I need at my table to bring those tools? Right. So sometimes I don't have the same tools that Susan has. So she's at my table because she brings the tools I lack.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you have to. Yeah. I mean,
we talked about that.
Yeah. And you don't have to have all the tools. We don't want this to be daunting, but you have to have that person at your table.
Yeah.
Or they're, that hope and that dream is way down at the other end. And there's just no way that you're going to reach it.
Right. Yep.
So, well, that is our 2024 wrap. So really think about who's at your table, who's at, your holiday table. Our thoughts and prayers are with a lot of you that are traversing a very difficult holiday season. We know. But thinking about those lost ones that they're still sitting at our table and they've had such an effect on our lives, and the loss opens up space for something new, something. And then being very aware of who doesn't belong at your table. There are always unwelcome guests. You got to name it and you got to boundary up. You got to boundary up. And so just being aware that you're allowed to do that with your table.
Right. Yeah. Make it the best one you've had.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all, thank you so much. And if you would like to reach us, you can reach Susan at dynamicgrowthccs.com. That's Dynamic Growth Counseling and Consulting Services. And you can learn more about me at untangledmind.net for any of your counseling needs. Be sure just to keep your eye out on our stuff because we're growing. We have tons of free resources on our websites. We're working on books. We're doing all of the things to make sure that if you can't access our professional services, that we do have resources for you at no cost.
Yep. And we'll keep adding to those as we go.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Take care, everybody, and happy holidays. We'll see you in 2025. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Dynamic Mind podcast. This podcast is a collaboration between Untangled Mind, offering expert CBT counseling for anxiety, trauma, and grief, and Dynamic Growth Counseling and Consulting Services, providing strategic consulting solutions for individuals and organizations. We invite you to learn more about our work and how we can support you by visiting us at dynamicmindllc.com. If you found this episode helpful, we'd love for you to share it with others who might benefit from our insights and tools. From all of us at Dynamic Mind, we wish you a successful and fulfilling 2025. Thank you for being part of our journey, and we'll see you in the next episode.